Welcome to another episode of the Trailblazers Experience podcast. And I'm really excited. I say this every time because I get to speak to interesting, exciting women. And I've got Jennifer Yorke on the call today in audio and video. How are you doing?
Yeah, really good. It's sunny. Can't complain.
Yeah. Let's get this out the way so we can go on to wine o'clock. The rest of the day. So for the audience, I'm going to introduce you. So Jennifer Yorke is Chief Commercial Officer at Ometria. And I was looking at your LinkedIn, and it says here you are passionate for scaling high growth in tech businesses. You have over 20 years experience working in digital, and we're going to delve into exactly what you do. And I think your career probably in your industry and your sector has evolved so much. So I feel like this conversation is going to go 360 and give some interesting insights to inspire some young women out there to take maybe the same career path that you did. So welcome.
Well, thank you very much. It's funny when you say 20 years because it's like, oh, it's really been that long.
Yeah. You know, when you listen to certain songs and they say, this song is now 30 years old, I'm like, what?
Actually, that happened last night. Went to a concert of a band that I listened to in high school, and they're like, it's the 20th anniversary of us releasing the song. I was like, oh my word.
Who did you go to see?
Incubus. They're fairly well known in the
Yes,
States.
I know Incubus. Yeah. What, has it been that long?
Since one of their like really big EPs. Anyway, they're fabulous. If anyone's considering going, it's a great show. Highly recommended.
Oh, brilliant. Where did they play though? Was it a big stadium, small venue?
It was at the Apollo in Hammersmith, so it was good size.
That's always good. Yeah. I feel like
smaller than what they were at their height, but
much better. Yeah, really great. So, Jennifer, tell me about your background. Obviously, I know you, but the audience doesn't. They're being introduced to you and will be inspired. Do you want to talk to me about where you're from, how you came to the UK, and how you started your career?
I am originally from Canada, so born, raised, and schooled there, did my master's. The way that I got to the States, I was studying to get into medical school at the time, and to shorten a long story, just decided it wasn't what I wanted to do. So instead, I did this test to go into business school and ended up doing a master's in business entrepreneurship and technology. So it was a little bit of a different spin on an MBA because you were partnered with and some professor that had a technology and you were helping to build the 5-year case plan to get them to market. And it was half, I would say, academic and half realistic. We actually got our professor funding. And through that program, I met a boy, and he was his family had moved to the States when he was younger. And so he needed to go back to become naturalized. And he was like, we can do long distance. I thought that sounded terrible. So during a trip with our master's program, we always went to Boston and we'd meet with a bunch of VCs. And so I studied the companies. And when we went on our trip, I pitched one of them to let me work for them. And they, let me interview with them, and I got a job. And so I started working in Boston, and he moved there too. And so that's the start of the journey. And the company I was with, I started in sales, and not all startups make it. So this one went like that, and up and down for those that are just listening. And I then got a job at HubSpot. And at the time, HubSpot was really small. It was employee 70, and they were just looking into customer success. So they had 2 individuals who were within the business, and I was their first external CS hire, and we were the first team put together.
And for those who don't know, do you want to just explain what customer success is?
Yeah, so customer success, the underlying framework of it can be very different from business to business, but the intention is to drive ongoing revenue from your customer base once they've initially signed. And the way that you do that is through ensuring that the customers see the maximum amount of value from your platform. And it all sort of stems back from the Salesforce was sort of the original one. Early days, people would buy software, they'd pay you £5 million or dollars upfront, and then you would say goodbye and not see them for another 5 years. the IBMs of the world didn't have to worry about it because there's no way for them to get out of paying the contract. In the new world, what would happen is that you would pay little bits each month for the software. And so the benefit was that it was easier for companies to get on board. The challenge is that it's easier for companies to leave. And so customer success started because you needed to ensure that people didn't just take the software and put it on a shelf. They had to use it and get value. So that's what
And also software keeps on changing and evolving as we see. So you can't sort of buy one piece of software and expect it to still be the same, perform in the same way 3 or 4 years later, because, it's evolving so quickly too.
It's over. That's also, I would say, sort of like the cause and effect. It's the effect of the new model, because they also found if you left your software the same and just helped people along the way, someone else was innovating. So you had to, but it was more like a follow-on of needing to retain customers and help them see continuing value so that you could continue to get that money in.
Yeah, yeah. And just circling back to your university education, I believe there's still actually such courses now where I listened to the Diary of a CEO, and they were talking to the founder of DECIEM, and how the university course she did in Nottingham was all about entrepreneurship and actually having a placement within an organization, which for some people it actually works much better, so because you're sort of learning on the job. So you got firsthand experience at pitching and just fell in love with the startup space.
I definitely did. There was a lot of practice of telling your story and telling it effectively, which I think is just helpful regardless of any industry that you're in. And then separately, I found the excitement of, hey, let's try this. Hey, it worked. Let's do more. Oh, this didn't work. Let's, try something different. And being comfortable with discomfort, and also it always changing. I like things to evolve. I do get bored relatively easily. And so the startup space was a great meld for my personality in that way.
Yeah. Okay. And then how did you move on from there? So you in Boston?
Yeah.
With the boy?
Yeah, still with the boy. When I was at HubSpot, loved it. The company was amazing. I was very lucky. I got to sit like kitty corner to the CEO, and he always talked about business, but also his life. And I asked him, what's the one thing you would recommend someone do? And he said, live abroad. And so a couple of years later, I walked home to my husband. I was like, let's move to London. And his response rightfully was, well, you should go see it, because I had only seen it in movies or read about it in books. But, 20 years ago, me was like, I totally know it. It's fine. So he was, said, go see it. So I, that week, thought that was good advice, bought myself a plane ticket to come for 4 days, came to London for 4 days, had a whale of a time, went back home and said, we should move to London. And his response was like, all right, you saw it, you still like it, so let's do it. Took us about a year to get our stuff together, and then we made the move over. At the time, again, very privileged, HubSpot offered to let me work remotely. They weren't yet overseas, and they were considering between London and Dublin, of which people that are familiar with the company will know that they ended up in Dublin initially. And I didn't want to work remotely and not meet people here. Part of the reason of moving to London was to get the experience of being invested in the culture and really getting a taste for what the city is like. And so I mutually parted ways. They were incredible. They introduced me to the company that I eventually started working for, Hootsuite, and my husband transferred with his company. And so we've been here for 11 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That feels like a consistent thread that I hear from lots of women who I speak to about sometimes you just have to take the plunge, take a chance. So whether it's moving to another country, which, exposure and learning different cultures and getting out of your little bubble and comfort zone, or it might be, taking a new career turn as well. Seems to be very common. It's something that I hear that we need to encourage everyone to do, like get out of your little town, your little village, or get out of the country to grow your career as well.
The career growth thing, I guess it's different for me because I was relatively close to Toronto. So from a Canadian standpoint, like career opportunity in tech was relatively easy to access. I can appreciate that for people who have that want and are in a more rural environment, that it would be more challenging. I think there's something to be said about learning about other people and different ways of doing it. I think it makes the world less scary. It also makes you appreciate how beautiful some other ways of doing things are, and we've incorporated lots of new ways of doing things, and we've also kept the things that we think are really beautiful and brilliant from where we're from. We're both Canadian by birth, and proudly so. But I'm also very proud to have lived here, to have lived in other places, and challenged myself. I think I'm a better person for it.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you think were some of the challenges? So you relocated to the UK that you faced, you know, navigating that space of your career.
First and foremost, coming to a new country, it's like you have to get the network spun up. So I was lucky that the company I was at, I asked literally everyone, like, who do you know over here? Can you do an introduction for me and tell them that I am good at what I do, if you agree.
Yes.
Because you have no background. Nobody knows your school because
Yeah.
come from a good school in Canada, but literally no one outside of the US in California knows it. Um, and at the time, HubSpot wasn't a big organization. So I couldn't rely on the name of the business I was at. So that was sort of number one. I think the other part of it too is just being realistic about the loneliness factor. Like I was very lucky I moved with my partner. But still, my partner is an incredible part of my life, but I shouldn't expect, nor does he fulfill every single need that I have. And so expecting and understanding that you are going to be lonely while you put down roots, make friends, get integrated into a new city and culture of friendship. And so that's something that I think those two things together, just being aware of them and being okay with the fact that you will be a bit sad for sometimes when you're like, Saturday night, I used to go out with a whole group of people because we lived a mile apart from each other. And now it's like, I know you and you're great. And I just saw you the last 7 days.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I totally empathize because I've relocated 4 or 5 times. So relocated
Yeah.
from Southern Africa, it's a different vibe in Zambia. Then relocated to Germany, it's a different vibe there. Then
And
relocated from
language.
south of Germany, yeah, yeah, from Munich to Düsseldorf, and then relocating to the UK. So it's like, oh my goodness, starting from scratch. And but you have to put yourself out there. I think that's the main message. You have to try and network. I remember discovering meetups. So my first way of
Yeah.
connecting was finding people to go to movies with. So it was a bunch of women and you met and all professional. And basically you had a bit of a chat, ate something. And obviously if you didn't really like each other, you went into the movie and then you shut up. So,
Yeah.
and then you took it from there. But yeah, it's putting yourself out there to build that network. And if you're an introvert, you just sort of have to build a bit of extrovertness to get you going as
Yeah,
well.
it's the
Yeah.
resiliency
Yes.
because it is literally friend dating. So there's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of time where it's a no, and you have to remind yourself. I mean, if all the feedback is you're a bit of a jerk, then like by all you should do some introspection. But
Introspection.
yeah,
Yeah.
but if it's like we just don't have similar interests or your underlying values are different, like that's reminding yourself that that's okay. It's neither a
Mhm.
sign of a negativity on their part or your part. It's just you haven't found your people. But it can be very difficult to replenish that because again, you're not around your people. So
Mm.
it's really about the resiliency of just continuously finding the energy to just keep going, both in work and also from a social side. And I found that the two went together because, like, when you get confidence from a social side, the work part, you feel a little braver because you're like, I'm sort of shored up in this area, so I can take risks over here. I
Yes.
find taking risks in every area at the same time to be quite challenging.
Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming. You have to pick your battles and say, what's
Yeah.
going to fall back while I perfect this particular area of my networking or career space. Okay. And then, so how did it progress from there, career wise?
So first job when I moved here 11 years ago, my word, um, was being the first CS individual on the ground for Hootsuite, which was enterprise social media software. They're still around. Size of business, I'm not super familiar with anymore, just because most of the people that I knew left. Um, but at the time, they were pretty up and coming. Social media was like super cool. And it was myself and the head of sales, and we basically grew out the European organization because one of the things I wanted to look for was the experience of helping grow an international office. And it started with myself managing all of their European accounts, which for those that are familiar with me know I speak one language.
Yeah, I
And
was going to say, how did you navigate
thank
that
goodness for
space?
Google Translate. Now, remember, 11 years ago with Google Translate. So I would Google Translate everything into 7 different languages, have it in the email with it English underneath, being like, I'm really sorry. I used Google Translate. So this
Just
might
in
be
case the
wrong.
context has been missed, this is the
Yes.
English email.
Yes. Like, please know that I am
Yeah.
not trying to, like, I might inadvertently offend you, but it wasn't on purpose. So just took the processes from head office, which was over in the western side of Canada, and put them in the European market, and then helped build out the team. So it was hiring CSMs, and that was the first time that I became a people manager. So it was all of the forecasting, training individuals, helping them understand what the role that they had was, integrating them in with clients, and understanding the motion of customer success in multiple markets in Europe. So, and also, how do you work with people that are coming from different backgrounds? Because there are differences and they're beautiful, but you can't take the same approach. So that was all at Hootsuite. And then from Hootsuite, I enjoyed the experience, but I wanted a culture that was a little bit more reminiscent of when I was at HubSpot. And HubSpot, from a culture standpoint, was a bit more innovative, a bit more open about debate. And when I say debate, I don't mean debate as in an adversarial way. I mean a debate as in like, oh, what about this idea? Oh, what did you think of when you thought of this idea? And like, let's consider this one. Like picking up a rock and turning it up and down, and everyone going like, that's a cool rock. Let's try that. Versus a like, my rock's better than your rock. That is not what I mean. And so I thought about, well, what companies did the CEO at HubSpot really enjoy? And he kept talking about a company called Box and how he had really appreciated a gentleman named Aaron Levy, who I saw in a hallway once. He has no idea who I am. And so I was like, I'm just going to apply, see if they have any jobs open. Looked on LinkedIn, and they literally had a manager of CS role. So I applied through LinkedIn. And I got an interview and ended up taking on their customer success enterprise group. And so for me, this was learning about enterprise customer success management and how you network across a wide variety of individuals who are part of a sales process, because we're talking multi-million-dollar accounts. So AstraZeneca, Anglo-American, they had 120,000 users globally. So very large scale customer success management, high touch. And at that organization, it was really around, it was relatively broken between the sales and the CS organization at the time. And so it was looking at how do we partner to drive revenue and help everyone understand that we are a team versus adversarial. And actually, we're going after the same thing, because if we as CS individuals do our jobs properly, accounts will grow. So like it's not misaligned as an end goal. The approach might be different, but the end goal isn't. And so we looked at putting in process a number of different ways to identify value, looking at how we bring in additional stakeholders, again, rooting out causes of risk, that kind of thing. And so it worked out well. One of the things that I did with the group there is that we piloted a double structure for 2 reasons. One, to provide more opportunity for growth for our team from a career ladder standpoint. We would bring in juniors who would work with seniors and take some of the operational work so that the seniors could spend more time on the strategic initiatives. And again, a satellite organization, you don't have a lot of roles, so people aren't moving on a lot. So we needed to have more of a ladder to keep the knowledge in for a longer period of time. And then, to be perfectly frank, juniors are better from a budgetary perspective. So your dollars, well, pounds went further. So we piloted that, it worked well, and they rolled it out globally, which was super cool. And then they said, okay, like this is work, take on all the customers in EMEA, and then took on the long tail. So we went from 400 super high touch customers to having 400 plus 11,700 small touch customers. So from 1,000 pounds a year to 3.5 million a year. So it was the whole experience. So that was super fun. I still to this day am friends with and think he's remarkable. Dan Farkas, if anyone has the chance to look for him, he's now at a company called Staff Base. So great guy. He will challenge you in the best way possible. I tried to work with him again, but he got his job before we had a sales role open, so I couldn't bring him over. And so after that, I talked with Dan and said, you know, what you're doing, because he was at the time, the structure of the business was a CS representative who had professional services, customer success, and support. And then he matrixed into the chief customer officer in headquarters in California. And I said, like, longer term, I would love to do what you do. I think it's brilliant to have the end-to-end experience from a customer standpoint, because you can, you know, align based on what's best for the business revenue, but for the customer versus different factions fighting for the same thing and somebody who isn't familiar making the decision. And we had to talk about it. The conversation was, well, if you're interested in that, like, head office will have things. And I just at the time didn't want to move to California. So I said, like, I'll just stay. Like, eventually the role will be here. It might be like 3 years by the time we grow in that way, but like, whatever. I love the people, the job. And then Bizarre Voice, which is enterprise ratings and reviews, reached out with literally this job. Now, of course, I had to interview for it, but it was come and interview for this role that you basically talked about with your boss. And I brought it to him and I said, like, Dan, I'm going to go interview. And his response was, well, you have to. So I interviewed for the role. I did get it. All of us had a lot of tears. I'm still good friends with everybody who was at Box. That company's amazing. And then I went to Bizarre Voice and was running their EMEA customer success organization, which also included the renewal component, whereas with Box, it was a separate organization.
So I'm gonna just take a minute to pause and to just big you up for just hearing you describe how you've built your career and been very clear in terms of how you want to add value to a business, but also how you want to scale a business. I mean, that takes, you know, a resilience, tenacity, but what do you think is your secret sauce? You know, like at that point in time, what do you think had you recognized were your key skills and values that you could offer to organizations? Because I think a lot of women are stuck in terms of, you know, they're very intelligent, they have the skill set, but to unpack and say, this is what I'd like to do and go for it, I think sometimes it's very challenging. What would you say were the fundamentals at that point in time?
Oh, so many things. First and foremost, I do think a lot of it started when I was a kid. Like my mother worked in startups, was working with investors, and I didn't know until I was older. Like part of her working was because from a financial standpoint, it wasn't feasible for us to have a one salary household.
Mm.
But as a younger girl, you saw like mom's kicking butt. And then separately, it was also my father, he was an educator his entire career. I will say still is, although technically he's retired. And he treated me almost like gender non-specific in a way, in that it's like, we're going to go and do sports. You want a dress? We're going to go and buy a dress. Like, you have a voice. What do you think? And I think having somebody very early in my life who was male, who basically said, just because you're female doesn't make your voice any less valid, was hugely beneficial. And similarly, seeing my mom do those things, it was sort of the two together, just said like, of course you belong in these spaces because that's what you see. And so I always took this healthy sense of, I would say, confidence in my own skills. And I will say confidence and not arrogance, because I do want to listen to other people. And I don't think I'm the best at things. I just think I should also be considered along with others. And so from a working standpoint, one thing I did see that was different from a lot of other women was that if there was someone with a giant title in the room, I would appreciate and respect the fact that they've done a lot of work, but I wasn't afraid to go up and just ask them questions. To me, they were someone to ask questions to. And also in my family, there was about 10 years different between me and every other grandchild. So I was used to hanging around adults. So it was like another adult, like, you do cool stuff. Let me go ask you questions. And I think those things just help me always get back up. And then separately, it's surrounding yourself with people. And I've talked about this with others before. When you don't have confidence yourself, have other people in your court who you can borrow that confidence from. And so my partner, my husband, is that for me. Like, we met at business school, so he knows we have similar interests and skill set. And he will just say, like, you can do this. Why aren't you doing this? And then the follow-on is, you're being dumb, because I need to hear that. I'm like, you're right, I am. Like, said with love. Yeah, said with love, though. Like, you're awesome. Stop being silly. And I think you need to have people in your court who will do that for you. And it doesn't have to be like, if you're a single person, get your friends to do it. Like, your friends should build you up. Your partner should build you up. And so I think that hugely helps. And then I remember this, in 2014, I read an article called The Gender Gap. And it was written and basically said that men will go for a role if they think it sounds interesting. Doesn't matter if they have the skills, they'll just go for it and let the other person decide if they have it or not. Whereas women are like, I need to have 100% of the things. And I really took that article to heart. And ever since then, it was, I'm not going to tell myself no. I'm going to put it out there, and the other person can tell me why not, and then I can work on those things. But they might say yes.
Yeah. Oh, there's some really good nuggets there. I think you talked about the foundation of, your upbringing, of being empowered and approaching people as, okay, that person was one to ask questions. That's a really good tip to hand out. And your circle definitely matters. People to call you out and say, that's dumb, but no, that's great. Go for it as well. Because, it's resilience. Building, usually startups, especially in the digital space, they scale up so quickly. So you don't even have that time to think. You're just going through the motions. So the fact that you've grown businesses significantly and built teams across, EMEA. So this is just Europe, Middle East, Africa as well. That's a massive achievement.
Thank you. I won't say it doesn't, because it's a podcast and it's like I'm smiling and telling the story. Like, my word, how many times did it come with tears and the concern of, I'm not good at what I do. I'm failing all these people that are a part of my team. I'm failing this business. And I think that's when, especially, you need the community of people to just say, even if you're getting it wrong right now, that will happen, but you know how to get out of it, or it's not failing, you're being silly. Like,
exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's something that people don't necessarily recognize, is it's never as beautiful as the duck on the surface. There's always the splashing underwater.
Yeah. No, really great. Really great. So how did you land at Ometria?
When I was at Box, I've always done a lot of networking because, again, heard in the early days that it was hugely beneficial to, kind of heard it from school. So I was networking and ended up getting introduced to Ivan, who's the CEO at Ometria, back in 2014. They'd only been around for a year. And he was looking for somebody to talk to about CS. And that's how we got connected. Again, CS being customer success. And so we got chatting, and they were, at that time, I think it was 7 guys working out of a basement office in Mayfair. And I was like, oh, I do consulting all the time. Had never done it. I could totally do a workshop for you about what you need to consider now versus later, if that's of interest. And it was. So I did a day workshop with them on what you should consider versus not, what you can put off, all those things. So I did that in work. So the workshop thing was new, but everything that I was talking about had multiple years behind it. Did that and then stayed in touch with them. There was an individual, James Dunford Wood, who was one of the co-founders, and he was leading the CS space. So there wasn't a role that fit what all of us were looking for. So I just stayed in touch because I thought they're just cool people. And I think the idea is cool. And
And also, you did your first workshop and a bit of consulting.
yeah,
That's right.
which I haven't done any to this day, but I mean, you got to try it once, right?
Do you do
Um,
you do you look back on what have you? Do you still have that deck and say,
I
what was
do.
I thinking?
It's the ugliest thing I've ever seen.
I
Um,
know.
but it's just like looking back at myself at 20, I was like, she was embarrassing, but I love her. Like,
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah, Jennifer,
Thank you.
I was looking at my first presentation I ever did. I presented to the
Oh my
an MD of a
God.
business. Do you know how many pages it long it was?
No, how many? It was either
It
super
was,
long or like so
it
short.
was 96 slides.
Oh my
And
God.
and the thing is, he taught me a very big lesson. He says, "Have you ever heard of appendices? You know, the appendix at the end." I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And then, so he
That
taught.
summary.
Yeah, exactly. And he taught me about the executive summary. That was a game changer for me. He was like, put all your key points, what the
Oh,
presentation is telling, and then that. He really schooled me, but he was like, nobody's going to read 96 pages. Although he did read it and gave me really
oh
nice
wow.
feedback. But I don't know what I was thinking. I just thought, I'll just keep going. I'll just another slide, another slide. So that's been a big learning for
I
me.
mean, isn't that the case? Like, truthfully, you can work extremely hard, but you need to have people that will have the commensurate skill. Like that gentleman reading all of it. Like
Yeah,
that is lucky that you
yeah,
found somebody who's willing to do that.
exactly. I think no, because I was also open, as you said, open to learn and I wasn't dismissive when he said, "Look, it's not great." I was like, "Oh,
Hmm.
okay, how can I improve?
Why?
What should I do next time?" Because I could have also said, "Oh, you know what? He's just being a bell end and just keep it moving." But I didn't. I didn't. I said, "Right, okay, there's something here." Because the next time, if it's in another organization, they'll just hand me my papers and say, "You need to keep it moving." But it's that thing of sometimes you just have to plunge, just do it, try. It's a bit like this podcast. If I look at my first one, I was like, what was I thinking? But my friends, my sisters were like, just do it and you will
Hmm.
improve over time. So that's really interesting. So you still have it. You need to frame it, that first workshop that you did.
I should frame
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
I will keep it. I'll say that. I don't
yeah,
know if anyone
definitely.
will see it again.
Yeah, yeah. So you stayed in touch with the
Yeah, stayed in touch.
guys. Yeah.
And then eventually they got to a size where James was. I love how he said it. He goes, I'm a ship builder, not a ship sailor. He wanted to do something else within the organization. They had literally, like, were just going for their Series B. And so they were looking at bringing in more operationalization into the business in order to do the next stage of growth. So Ivan would just send me stuff every, I would say like 6 months and be like, hey, what are your thoughts on these, et cetera, et cetera. And so he sent me the CV for the role and was like, what are we thinking? What's the pay band? Are we missing anything? And so I like gave him my feedback. And then separately, they had a headhunter that I guess just like flagged me and like sent it separately. And I noticed differences between the two. And
Um,
so I just sent a note to Ivan and was like, hey, like this is different from what you sent. Just wanted to flag it so that you can correct however you want to correct. And then he was like, hey, we should just get lunch. And I was like, all right. Now, people won't realize, but I was 5 months pregnant at the time. And so I said to my husband, I was like, I've always wanted this job. Like I wanted to be at a headquarters again because the companies I work at were lovely, but you don't get full say over product and engineering decisions because
mm.
truthfully, you're less revenue. So of course they're going to prioritize the things that matter for the majority of revenue unless there's a deliberate shift to go into the markets you're in.
But you're hearing
So,
from your customer base what they really need, and you can't
right.
influence. Yeah,
You can, but again, when you're 20% of the annual revenue,
no
like
chance.
you get
Yeah.
20% of the voice share,
Mm.
which I get. So I was saying eventually I'd like to go back to being in headquarters and being a part of those decisions. I still want to have more of a seat at the table. I want to apply for this job, 5 months pregnant. And my husband's like, just do it. That's his response. So pretty much I'm so lucky to have met him.
Yeah. But
Um,
I feel you, Jennifer. It's, you know, and like we keep saying back in the day, but it's still a thing where, pregnancy is not a disease. It is the most wonderful thing out there. You are growing a human. You are still
yeah.
competent. You can still do your job. But of course, we still live in a society where it's like, well, she's pregnant. How long is she going to be here? Will she come back? Will she be? And that should not be a thing. It shouldn't be at all.
Mm-mm.
But it still is.
No.
But, you were like panicking, saying, this is it. This is my chance.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I mean, that's a conversation for a whole other story because I think we do dads a disservice. And I'll say the other parent because it's not always a dad, but we do other
Yeah.
parents a disservice. Um, so I was like, I'm gonna go to lunch and pitch myself. So went to lunch, very round. So, and Ivan didn't know. So I show up and he's like, "Oh my God, congratulations." I was like, "Thanks," because there's no hiding it.
Mm.
And he's like, "So do you want to apply for this role?" And I was like, "Funny you ask, because yes, I do." So we had a wonderful lunch, and then I interviewed for the role. By the time things passed, I was 6 months pregnant, so even rounder. I got the offer, and they waited until I was done my maternity leave. So I did 7 months of maternity leave, which is the length that I wanted to do. I had no idea
Yeah.
how much
You felt
like
comfortable
what
doing
I
that. Yeah.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, sure. And so the same day I started work is the day that my son started at nursery. And so I started in CS at Ometria just after mat leave.
Wow. I mean, that speaks volumes about the organization and the
Hmm.
values that they have as well. So what do you want to just summarize the things that really drew you to the business and what are so the core values and the culture of the business there?
I mean, I have to say that uh, I very much enjoyed the fact that there was
Mhm.
over, no concern apparent to me that I was pregnant. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, this is somebody who's a bit more modern aged. I bet we'll have similar values, like
Mm.
intrinsic values. Um, Ivan, I've known for years. He is brilliant, incredibly intelligent in the way that he thinks about things. And I saw somebody who could challenge me to be better at my own style of leadership. And I am like, it is night and day from when I started to today. The style of leadership I have and my understanding of business and how to teach that to those that I work with.
Mm.
Um, and it continues to be. I mean, if he ever left for whatever reason, I would be very sad. And then who knows, down the road we might work again together someday. Um, the For anyone listening, he has no plans on leaving. I'm just saying if he did. The other thing I liked about the organization, it worked with a lot of really fun brands, and I thought that the product itself was hugely valuable. So that was sort of a core. Is there value in what this is doing? Is there growth that could happen? It was like check, check. And then do I see the opportunity for me to do something fun with the role that I have? And it was like, well, they're in the UK market right now. Oh my gosh, there's like, we can grow to other jurisdictions. We're moving up market. We have no process to speak of. So there's lots I can do. So there's a nice meld here as well. So those were all the reasons as to why I thought it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And if you just think about how the digital space has just completely, evolved,
Yeah.
people were talking about, they're saying the fifth revolution now is AI. I mean, AI has been around for a long time. Before it was Web3, blockchain,
Yeah.
and everything else. But
Natural language processing technically is AI.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Just the ability, and also, do you find it's very interesting? What I love about your organization is, and just even that digital space, is the fact that you are very, and I think it's true of all digital businesses now, is they're very keen to interact with other businesses to say, how can we help these brands be better? Let's all get together and how can we make brands be better, because that's better for us, that's better for our revenue, shareholders, our growth. That seems to be the way now forward of businesses trying to survive, because you can't just work on your own and try to be, in the past it was like IBM was here, Dell was there, and that was it. If you put it that
Yeah.
way, Microsoft was over there. But it feels like the new school of startups want to collaborate and work together.
I do think it has something to do with the fact that, at least from if we're talking about like brands and retailers and consumers, the consumer expectation ever since COVID is you're going to have a very joined up experience. Everything was digital for a while because stores were closed, but then it was stores are open and the expectation is you're doing that. Well, you as a business cannot give that experience if you don't collaborate across data layers.
Yeah.
So I think it's sort of a natural follow on to it. In order to deliver that experience to customers who will give you the revenue, you have to do that kind of behavior or have that kind of behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good on those startups. Long may it continue.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So talk to me about, if you were to say 3 key achievements that you're proud of as a woman in your sector, in your business, what would that be?
Yeah, being chief customer officer is, to be perfectly frank, was a 10-year effort.
Yeah.
I thought to be frank, I thought it was going to take a lot longer. I was a little bit stunned that it happened that quickly. Having being able to get the commensurate skill set, pitch the idea to a business, because that was the pitch. It was, you should approach things in this way, whether you hire me or not, you should do this. And then getting the job and the agreement being, start with this, and if it works, we'll add in another piece, and if it works, we'll add in another piece. And successfully doing that, yeah, I'm really proud.
Yeah.
The other one I would say is leaving a business that was on the up, like HubSpot, and getting a job in a new market in a space that I wanted. I'm proud of that. It was pretty, I will say, lady ballsy.
Badass.
Yeah. To say that and follow through. And then I think the first one is getting the job out of my master's program. For context, which a lot of people don't know, but the movies come out, Blackberry. When I moved to the States, I actually had a job as a product manager at Blackberry Research in Motion that I turned down to go work at this teeny tiny startup in the States on being on a visa. And my whole family were like, what are you doing? Like, it's fine. It's okay. Like, because if it went horribly wrong, I go back home. Like, it's not living on the street. I'm living in my parents' house with people that love me. So, like, not really risky to me. But that and making it work. And I think like that was such a core decision and truthfully opened up this whole world. I've seen so many parts of the world. I've met so many amazing people. I've had more job experience because of it. It changed my life. And so I think that's probably the first one.
Yeah. And what about some challenges? Because obviously when you said you spoke, you knew that the founders or Ometria was a 7-man organization. It's like you're a woman and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm having to navigate this space. What do you think are some of the challenges you've overcome, or what are ones that it's still a battle just as a woman in business?
Oh man, mansplaining, still a battle. To this day. I think it's helping that I'm now getting a few wrinkles because I no longer walk in the room and they like turn to the man in the room. They're like, oh, she's a little older, so she has experience. But I remember like 5 years ago, they'd be like, oh, to this man. And I love my friend Steve Bryan when we work together because he's about a decade older than me. And so they would go to Steve and Steve's like, and this is the boss.
And that still happens, like, you walk in the room and they're like, so who is the director? They're looking to someone else instead. That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And I feel for especially younger leaning counterparts that either are younger or look younger. Like, it's such a discount and it's so ridiculous. I think some of the things that I'm glad I don't have to deal with, but I still think people deal with, is honestly like sexual advances, which I happened to me loads before, and I don't know if it's that I've also changed behavior to be much more hands off of we are professional and we don't go in that way. But that was something that in my early days, it was pretty egregious to the point where
Mm,
someone like offered me a designer bag to have some adult fun. And I was like, you're disgusting.
mm,
Um, so things of that nature. And then separately, like one that I think we're still consistently dealing with, even myself, like consistently being aware of, although my organization is holistically good, is being perceived as being emotional when you're excited about something. And so, especially with women, I coach them to remove the words of like, I feel strongly. It's like, no, you don't. It's like, the data says blah. And,
yes.
based on the data, I would make this recommendation. When truthfully, data in retail, for the most part, is all fuzzy to begin with. So some of it is gut. So, like, why can't I say it's gut when my male counterparts can? And just acknowledging the fact that like we're not there yet, so why
Yeah.
make it harder for myself?
Yeah. Someone said, as women, we have to position ourselves how we want to be seen,
Hmm.
to get to where we need to go. So it's like you said, it's how you articulate yourself, the words that you're using. The data says, the facts say, this is what the industry is saying, this is what the benchmark. It's those terminologies to garner and keep that respect, because you have to now pave the way. We have to pave the way for the younger generation to come up and be in those spaces. And do you know what? When we're hanging out and networking, we can talk about and give ourselves high fives about how we really feel about it. But in order to
Absolutely.
be respected in those spaces, let's navigate that way, which is sad. But I feel like now, there are networking groups out there. There are women's organizations that you can reach out to.
Hmm.
We are accessible now. So if somebody's going through something and you've just told the story about the bag, someone will reach out and say, oh my God, that happened to me yesterday. Can I DM you? Can I meet you for a coffee? What should I do? And we'll be like, right, HR, this, it's more
Yeah.
overt versus I think before everything was a bit closed door.
Yeah, you absolutely didn't want to tell anyone because it was like, well, what did you do to ask for that? And it was like, I was standing there.
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
like I did nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, to your point. Do I think all of those things happen? I do. I
Of
just
course.
I absolutely do. Um, I hope that it's a little bit less, mostly because when I'm talking and hearing from women, I hear the stories less. That could be because they're telling me less, but hopefully it's because it's happening a little bit less often. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about self-care and you're a wife, a mother, a friend. We talked about at the beginning how you were ushering out everyone so that we could record the podcast. Talk to me
Yeah.
about that side.
Yeah, so I have a 4.5-year-old son. He is going to reception, which is the first year of school in the UK. I say that because it's all new to us. So my house is hilarious. Like it's super loud. I'm surrounded by men. Seems to be my lot in life. I'm just surrounded by these people that are wonderful and noisy. Um, it's a lot of balance and truthfully I find that it goes up and down, and every so often you need to pause and say, is all of this serving me? And actually earlier this year life wasn't, it wasn't
Mm,
serving me in that way. um, and so it's reevaluating like where do you want to focus your time, having conversations with it, if you have a partner, with your partner, if you don't have a partner, with your family and friends, and saying like, hey, I need to take a step back from these things, or I want to start doing this thing, I need you to help me out. So one of the things for me, I found that I was just getting retail, let's be honest, last 4 years, not easy.
mm,
So I had been really just going all heads down on work, and then my son, and basically said ta-ta to everything that I loved, and realized that I was just like I'm not like sort of like a shell. Like I was there, but I wasn't present. And
just
had a
functioning. You're
just
just
functioning,
functioning.
showing
Yeah.
up and doing the motions, but like there
Mm,
was no depression, but no joy. And
Mm.
so my husband and I had a conversation about it, and I was like, I just need to find something for me. And I've always done amateur drama community theater, and said like I'd like to go to the next read through an audition, and if I get one, great, but like at least I'm gonna go. And he was like, yeah. And so I did get a role, which means that like twice a week I have rehearsals. I also need to learn lines. um, I also, as it gets closer to the show, you do set builds and things of that nature, so he would need to take on more or not do things because I would be out of the house. And so it was agreement of like, this is important for all of us. Like, if you get it, we'll do those things. And so yeah, in May I was in Blythe Spirit, which was super fun. So I was on stage again, and a couple other little changes, and it has made me feel so much better. And I'm a better boss because of it. I'm a better, you know, parent. I'm a better partner. I'm a better friend because I now have a little bit more of like me, the joy back.
Yeah, taking the time to invest in you, isn't it? So you found the time. I went to a book reading. So there's a lady
Ah,
called, I'm now just reading this with my terrible eyesight here. Rebecca Anderson Davis has written a book. She's worked at Goldman Sachs for a long time and built this amazing following on Instagram because she was teaching people yoga practices. And she's written a
oh
book
wow.
and where she talks about, you need to find on your dashboard of life how you dial up and dial down. So in a similar vein, thinking about, right, what's important to me at this time. So at the beginning, it was about career, career, career. But
Yeah.
now you're like, I have to invest in me as well so that I can be a better version of myself and feel something. Feelings are important as
Yeah.
well.
That it was a conversation with a number of my girlfriends, maybe because we've all just hit like another decade. So it's like, oh, let's do a review. Um, the thinking about what used to give you joy, and for me, what gave me joy was literally that the drive to try and get this type of role at the time. Like, I wasn't a mom for that whole journey either, so it was a little bit easier to be able to find the time for it because I had less things I wanted to do to fit into the time. And so like I would spend hours and hours and hours on it out of my own joy and love. And I found recently that like that having the seat at the table is wonderful, but doesn't bring me the same type of joy it used to. And so it's like, what brings me joy now? And how can I serve that the new want, and also forgive myself for changing it, because
Hmm.
30-year-old me would be so pissed at 40-ish-year-old me for making this change. And so grieving that at the same time, oddly enough, and saying it's okay that it changes. You're not doing a disservice to the you that came before. In fact, you're honoring her by being willing to grow. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm still having to replay that in my head on a weekly basis because I'm not totally bought into it. I'm getting there, but um, that's something too that I just have to keep reminding myself. Like, if you talk about loving the fact that people change, you also need to do it, and having the grace to give yourself the space to do it. I'm also
Yeah.
privileged to be able to do that, for the record.
I know. Well, that's it. I mean, to not live your life and say, right, I'm okay with being. I'm in a process of evolution. This is a different stage of my life. I say it all the time because the person I was when my kids were under 5, I used to have like a 5-year plan. Like, first 5 years, get them to potty training, get them to nursery, get them walking, get them sleeping in their own bed,
All
and then
good
the next
things.
5 years.
We'll serve them in adult life.
Exactly. And now it's a different phase where, my 18-year-old has finished his A levels, he's going to uni. That's a
Oh,
different phase. I've got a 16-year-old who's, honestly, yeah,
oh, I love
hearts,
it.
yeah. But it's a different phase. And now I need to accept I can devote more time to things that serve me, and that's okay. And to evolve and to build different, friendship groups, network. We wouldn't have met if I wasn't also in that being open to
Yeah.
meeting other people and
And
talking.
thank
And
you.
so,
You're so
yeah.
kind.
So basically, it's okay. And the name of the book that I read, I just found it. It's called Shifting the Dials by Rebecca Anderton Davis. So shout out to her. She's got an amazing career at Goldman Sachs, but she's found the space to think about and forge another part of her life that's important to her. And she's, she's young. So the fact that she's already found that at a young age is really good. Yeah. And you talked about your close relationships. I won't even ask the question of, your circle really matters. And that's really great as well. Okay. So where do you see yourself? You're ambitious. You got a few things going. Where do you see yourself when I talk to you in 5 to 10 years? Where is Jennifer then?
Who knows? I actually don't have a set idea. I have, I guess, maybe an impressionist painting of like, I think these are things that I might like to do, but with the knowledge now that it might change.
Yeah.
Like, can I say that I will be in the UK 5 years from now? No, but do I see a reason to leave? No, because it's pretty great. And like, we just did a loft extension and I'm just enjoying the fact that I have a dryer now as opposed to just having to hang my laundry up. No offense to anyone that does that here, but growing up with the dryer, it's hard to let that go.
Of course, yeah. I feel you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think from a career standpoint, some things that I would like to explore. I love the idea, and I think I have enough experience now to get more into the advisorship side of things. So I would love to be able to be on a board of a Series A, B, C startup. And
I'm in that same space, wanting to get into non-exec directorship advisory. I feel like that's like the next stage of still doing what you do, having your job and you talked about how you were described as someone who was a shipbuilder. And probably now you're just steering the ship, but imagine if you could help other people build their own ships, advise them.
And avoid the icebergs, because like Lord knows I've hit enough of them.
Yeah.
So that I think would be a lot of fun. But do I have a deliberate plan to do it? I don't at this stage. Maybe it will come in the next little bit. It's more just the idea of like, ooh, that could be a lot of fun. And I actually think that I do have value I could bring in that way now, as opposed to 5 years ago. I think there's things that I still needed to see and do. Because now it's like I've been involved and around and all that kind of stuff. I also think one of the things that I want to do is use my skill set in more of a charity, like volunteering, but in a slightly different way. So I'm going to apply to be on a charity board. Who knows if I'll get it? But fingers crossed I do, because I think that I could bring a lot to the table for that organization. The job description basically reads like what I do now is like work with the CEO and help them align to value. I was like, check. Like align a group of people around an idea. I'm like, check. So we'll see. But giving back in that way. And then honestly, like traveling, I want to travel. I see that in my life. So that's non-work related. Continuing that, have always done that. So just continuing to do that. And hopefully having a house where my son and his friends want to hang out. I want to create an environment where they like run through, grab food. They're like, hey, and then like run off. So I think spending some time and energy on creating a place that people want to hang out and feel comfortable hanging out is something that I know not just myself, but like my partner is interested in. So hopefully those things.
Yeah, sounds really exciting. You got this, girl. And you talked about indirectly about networking and mentoring, about how you coach your teams. And so you're doing that already, isn't it, in terms of empowering and inspiring within the organization?
That's the hope. I mean, let's be okay. Being confident. I think I'm very good at growing leaders. I do. And I have a number of examples of that over my career. And I do think it's because of the fact that I can help people understand the business aspects, but I don't neglect the human elements and people's lives. And I know that the business is not their life. And so I've had a lot of people grow, and I celebrate the fact that, they've moved on to other places and got leadership roles. And they left my team, and that's okay, because you know what? I didn't have that role, or I was honest about, these are the skills that you need to do this role here. Maybe the skills are different somewhere else. So like here, you need to do these things. And then they were like, you know what? I'm going to go try it somewhere else. And I'm like, you go, man or woman, or, you know, gender
Spread your
non-specific
wings.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like you go. Cause like I did the exact same thing. And I think that's one of the reasons why I am able to build good teams, because I would never punish someone for doing those things, because you need to build for yourself. And if I get some of your skills and strength along the way, like, yay me. So, yeah.
I think that's a really good one. I say that to my teams all the time. I was at a networking event and two of my team members showed they were invited, and I was more excited that they turned up, and I was like, right, so you don't even need to hang out with me. This is about you. Of
Yep.
course, you're going to learn a lot of skills that you bring back to the organization, but this is about you building your network, learning something for you. Like spread your wings and enjoy the day. And that's always it's always great. It's the same, when I met you at your event as well, and a team member was there, and it's just good to see. It's like the end goal is not for you to, of course, we would like you to give a few great moments to the organization, but for you to then spread your wings and go somewhere else. That's the end goal,
Yeah.
where possible. Yeah.
I always think about it, it's like I'm a chapter in their book. And do
Yeah.
I want the chapter to be one that they look on fondly? Or do they
Hear it out.
like, that was the one where like I had adversity. And also it's gonna sound so completely dorky, but I want to teach people skills that they'll take for the rest of their life. Like
Yeah.
that matters more to me than I taught you how to do this one thing at this business that's so particular
Mm.
to it. I'm consistently, my leaders, if they listen to this, they will laugh, because I'm like, okay, this skill is going to help you in every job or even personal relationships. So that's why we're going to focus on it.
It's a good mindset to have, because you're shifting the dial in terms of, I keep saying that. I mean, I'm not even getting paid to say that, but it just resonated with me, of shifting the dial of what it means to be in a workplace and environment in 2023 and beyond. It's teaching people the skills that will serve them in their personal and professional life even better. Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully. And hopefully
Yeah.
I'm not the adversity chapter.
No.
For some people, but hopefully
Well, you gotta play a role. It's like in a play, somebody has to be the villain at some point.
Get a DM of like, you win me.
Oh man. So circling back, if we were to give, or you were to give, Trailblazer takeaways, in summary for, I keep saying that, I really why I find this podcast interesting is we're looking to inspire women, hopefully they can find something and learn. And, if they tell obviously another man about it, another non-gender person about it, and they learn something, great. But we need to empower and inspire women who I feel are amazing. So what are your Trailblazer takeaway tips?
You need to build up that group of people who will give you confidence when you don't have it. That's, for me, like number one. And it doesn't have to be people at work. It just has to be people that when they tell you you're doing a good job or they believe in you, you believe it. So maybe that is people from work. Maybe it's your parents. Maybe it's your friends, whomever it is. The next one is that your voice deserves a seat at the table, or your voice deserves to be in whatever room you're in. And to put it forward with the knowledge that it might not always be acknowledged, but you just have to keep trying. I think those two things are incredibly important and will serve you for a long time. I'll just keep it to two. There's lots, but I think those are, for me, the core ones that have served me over the years.
I mean, those are big ones. So I'm the oldest of 8, and
Wow.
6 girls and 2 boys. My dad always said, you deserve a seat at the table. When you walk into a room, you deserve to be there. And that is the first step.
I like him.
Yeah. He's always said that. You know, when you're growing up, you're like, "What are you talking about? Table? Which table are you talking about?" It's when you then you those are the things when you go somewhere, it's that confidence boost. You know, you're getting the elevator, you're going up, you don't know who's going to be there, and you just have to own it. Get in that room and
Oh,
own that space. And
oh, there's one scene, it's my favorite show, so I'm not giving anything away, but Ted Lasso, which I know some people will think is hokey, but so am I, where the character Rebecca, she is the woman who owns the Richmond Greyhounds, the Ted Lasso team, and she is a woman of stature, so she is already an individual who's bigger in a room, and you could say takes up space, but I love that she goes into this large meeting where she is the only woman in a male dominated space. And before she does it, she makes herself bigger. And I just think that's so beautiful of like considering to yourself that like you deserve to take up space. So take that moment to take up space before you go in there and then take up the space. Like
yeah,
everybody else is, you might as well too.
you better take up the space. That's a good way to end. Oh, Jennifer, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
This has
you.
been brilliant. I think, you know, we've connected on different levels, and I feel like there's an event or a concert that we all need to, you and me and a group of people need to get to.
It's not going to be Wu-Tang, apparently.
But this has been brilliant, and I am certain that, you know, this will empower, inspire. That's the purpose of the podcast, to inspire a generation. To It's my way of sort of giving back by speaking to amazing women, imparting knowledge, and then it's out there in the ether, out there on all streaming platforms. So thank you so much for your time, and this has been the Trailblazers Experience podcast.
Thank you so much.